Gather close, my friends, as we embark on the first of our pirate tales. But let me be clear from the outset. Piracy was not the romantic adventure often portrayed in movies and books. It was, and remains today, a brutal criminal enterprise built on theft, violence, and terror. The men we'll discuss here were not heroes, but outlaws whose actions brought suffering to countless innocent people. As we navigate these waters together, I will not glorify or romanticize these historical figures. Instead, we'll examine the harsh realities of their world, the choices that they made, and the consequences that followed. Today we begin with the origins of a man whose very name would one day strike terror into the hearts of sailors across the Caribbean and beyond. A figure whose shadow still darkens the pages of maritime history. Edward Teach, or Blackbeard, as history remembers him, wasn't born a fearsome pirate king. The shadows of his early life remain just shadows. But within those shadows, a transformation took place. How does an ordinary seaman become the most feared pirate of his age? What forces shape a man into a legend? As we unfurl the sails of our tale and catch the winds of history, we'll discover how chaos of war, the promise of gold, and the mentorship of a notorious pirate captain forged the man who would become Blackbeard. For every legend has a beginning, and some beginnings are shrouded in more mystery than others. The year was 1713. The War of Spanish Succession, known in the colonies as Queen Anne's War, had finally ended after 12 long, bloody years of European conflict that had spilled across oceans to the shores of the New World. In the port of Bristol, England, among the weather-beaten sailors returning from war, was a man of imposing stature, Edward Teach. Little is known of his early years. Was he born into Bristol's merchant class, as some claim? Or did he emerge from London's shadowy streets? The truth vanishes like footprints in the tide, but what remains certain is that Teach had served as a privateer during the war, licensed by the British Crown to attack enemy vessels. A legal pirate, if you will. But now, with peace declared and the letters of marque revoked, thousands of sailors like Teach found themselves adrift. What becomes of a man trained in the arts of naval warfare when their services are no longer required? What paths remain when a man has tasted the freedom of the seas and the sweet flavor of captured prize money? To live at sea, free of lords and kings, might that not be a life worth living? This question must have whispered into the minds of many returning privateers. For some, including the towering figure of Edward Teach, the answer would reshape the very maps of power in the New World. The streets of Bristol offered little to a man accustomed to the rolling deck of a ship beneath his feet. Taverns filled with the former sailors, their pockets growing lighter with each passing day, their stories growing taller with each empty tankard. Among these men circulated tales of a place where fortunes could still be made, a place called New Providence, Nassau, in the island of New Providence in the Bahamas, had become something unprecedented. A republic of pirates. Its sheltered harbor and strategic position along the trade routes made it ideal for those who sought to prey upon merchant vessels. More importantly, its distance from European powers offered a haven where the king's laws held little sway. Edward Teach vanishes from historical records during this transition, a ghost slipping between the pages of history. But when he reappears in 1716, he is no longer merely a former privateer seeking his fortune. he has found his way to Nassau and, more significantly, into the service of Benjamin Hornigold, one of the most successful pirate captains of the era. Hornigold's ship represented a different kind of freedom than Edward had known under the Crown's service. Here was a vessel governed by the Pirates' Code, a surprisingly democratic system where captains were elected, profits were shared according to agreed-upon articles, and men of all backgrounds could rise according to their merit rather than their birth. What spoke to Edward Teach in this new world? Was it the promise of gold, the lure of freedom, or something darker, a growing appetite for power and fear that lay dormant within him? Under Hornigold's command, Teach learned the true craft of piracy. Unlike the romantic notions that would later surround them, pirates were strategic businessmen of violence. Hornigold taught Teach how to identify vulnerable targets, how to approach and board with minimal resistance, and perhaps most importantly, how to cultivate a fearsome reputation that would encourage surrender without bloodshed. A pirate's greatest weapon, Hornigold reportedly told his crew, is not his cannon or his cutlass, but the terror that precedes him. It was a lesson Edward Teach would take to heart in ways his mentor could never have anticipated. Across the azure waters of the Caribbean, the partnership of Hornigold and Teach proved increasingly successful. Merchant vessels would strike their colors at the mere sight of their approaching sails. Their coffers filled with Spanish gold, French silks, English silver, but each victory, something shifted in the tall, broad-shouldered figure of Edward Teach. The pivotal moment came in the spring of 1717. Hornigold and Teach, commanding separate vessels by this time, captured a magnificent ship called La Concorde near the island of Martinique. Built in Nantes, France, it was a sturdy, well-armed vessel engaged in the despicable slave trade. As they divided spoils, a tension hung in the air between the two captains. Hornigold, despite his piracy, maintained one curious principle. He refused to attack British ships, clinging to some vestige of patriotic loyalty, I suppose. Teach, however, had begun to see all merchant vessels as equal prey, regardless of the flags that they flew. Was it here, standing on the deck of the captured slave ship, that Edward Teach truly became Blackbeard? For it was this vessel he claimed as his own, renaming it Queen Anne's Revenge, a name that hinted at both his past in Queen Anne's War and his feelings toward the peace that had rendered his skills unwanted. The true transformation, however, was more personal. Edward Teach began to craft a new identity, one designed specifically to terrify. His beard, already full, he allowed to grow wild and untamed until it covered much of his face and chest. But the most chilling aspect of his new appearance emerged during battles. Teach would weave slow-burning hemp fuses into his beard and his hair, lighting them before his combat so that his head appeared wrapped in supernatural smoke. Imagine the sight that greeted merchant sailors. A towering man emerging from smoke of cannon fire, his eyes gleaming beneath his wild hair, his beard literally smoldering as if he were some demon risen from the underworld itself. Is it any wonder that ships often surrendered without firing a shot? As words of this terrifying figure spread through shipping lanes and ports, the name Blackbeard entered the lexicon of fear. Yet behind this carefully cultivated image was the calculating mind that Hornigold had helped shape. A mind that understood that fear was a currency as valuable as gold. By late 1717, the partnership between Hornigold and Teach had completely dissolved. Some accounts suggest Hornigold accepted the king's pardon, a general amnesty offered to pirates who would renounce their criminal ways. Others hint at a more dramatic split over Hornigold's refusal to attack British vessels. Whatever the truth, their paths diverged. Hornigold toward an eventual position as a pirate hunter, and Teach toward the infamous legend. Now in command of his own small fleet with Queen Anne's Revenge as his flagship, Blackbeard revealed the full extent of his ambitious nature. He blockaded the Charleston, South Carolina, holding the entire city hostage in exchange for medical supplies. He navigated the treacherous waters of politics, establishing a working relationship with Charles Eden, the governor of North Carolina, and all the while his legend grew. But what about the man behind the burning beard? Accounts from those who served under him suggest a captain of contradictions. Though he cultivated an image of merciless brutality, historical records show that unlike many pirates of his era, Blackbeard rarely killed or tortured captured crews. His violence was theatrical, psychological, the performance of a man who understood that reputation could accomplish what real bloodshed might not. In moments of revelry, another side of Edward Teach emerged, a man of surprising intelligence who reportedly enjoyed reading, a captain who could quote snippets of classical literature even while drinking his crew under the table. Was this perhaps evidence of the educated upbringing some historians attribute to him? Or simply the complex nature of a man who contained more depths than the ocean he sailed? As our tale draws toward its close, we find Blackbeard at the height of his powers in 1718. From an ordinary seaman to a former privateer, to the most feared pirate of his age. His transformation was complete. The man who had once taken orders now commanded a fleet. The sailor who had once fought for king and country now answered to no authority but his own. Yet even as Blackbeard seemed invincible, the golden age of piracy was already beginning to wane. Imperial powers were reasserting control over the trade routes. Naval patrols increased. The pirate republic of Nassau fell to the British forces. The shadows that obscured Edward Teach's early life would soon enfold his end as well. A bloody confrontation at Ocracoke Inlet that would cement his legend forever. But that, my friend, is a tale for another night by our fire.